Hello, everybody. Ziggy Nose here. Sports Card Show live. Wow, I don't know what I'm doing yet. I can't find the comment button. There's a comments over there. Well, guys, thanks for being here today. It is my first live show in quite some time. I brought on a couple guests tonight. We're going to talk about just kind of current topics in the hobby. I'm also hoping to take comments and questions from people as soon as I figure out how to do that. So we'll get that figured out as well. But hold your comments and questions till the end. I mean, you can put your comments down. I'm not going to read them as they come in. I'll wait to the end and going to take questions. But I have Coach Co with me, and I'm going to have Sports Card Cartel joining. So really excited about that. Looking forward to the conversation and where we take this tonight. Let me go ahead and introduce. How you doing, Coach?
What's going on?
Well, thank you very much for being here. Let me first of all just introduce you to my audience. I don't know if
Yeah.
anybody follows Coach Co. I first found you on TikTok. Okay, I
Yeah.
won't lie. I
Yeah.
put my toe in the TikTok world. I never really got. I don't know. It just isn't my thing yet. I have high hopes for it.
Yeah.
But in fact, that's one thing I want to talk to you about later on off record.
For sure. For sure.
But that's where I first found you, and I think you do a phenomenal job of just hitting so many pertinent topics. Like you are up to date on the most cool stuff. So one question I want to know is, do you have a network of people who send you information? Right, you can answer that now, but
Yeah. So I can't answer it.
okay.
I probably will right now.
But
So,
please introduce yourself to my audience, because again, you
Yeah.
are also on YouTube, your
Yeah.
Instagram, you
Yeah.
coach, and you do sports cards, right?
I
You got
do.
two channels, two
There's
media.
there's a lot of things. Yeah.
So
So I'm Coach Co. For those of you who don't know me, I'm probably best known for my TikTok videos about sports cards. I'm a personal trainer by trade. Have been for 10 years. I've collected pretty much my whole life. Different things though. So I started off collecting, just like McDonald's and Tim Hortons hockey cards when I was a kid. And then I gradually got into Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh and collected jerseys and shoes, and I still have a lot of those jerseys today. When I became an adult,
yep.
shit, I started working, and all of a sudden, all that fun stuff kind of went out the window. And then I jumped in full force 2020. So I came with the boom. I decided to start including things in my life that truly brought me happiness,
Yep.
and it wasn't just about the money. And I've been here ever since. Happy to make
Ki-
content. I'm learning
Let
every
me
day.
let me
Yeah,
interrupt you there. Now
go
you were
for it.
doing the personal training thing.
Yeah.
Did the cards and the card content come in 2020, or were you doing personal training content prior as well?
So I was pretty much off social media entirely,
Okay, okay. So both of them.
before 2020. Yeah.
Okay.
Like I had a Facebook going for a little bit, and then I just dropped all that. Personal training can be pretty demanding. It's
Yep.
it's like 12, 14-hour days sometimes. You're working around other people's schedules.
Hmm.
And so as a result of that, I'd never really made time for myself and for my own growth. And that's why when the pandemic hit and, everyone kind of got laid off, I was like, I'm really going to build like a solid foundation here,
Hmm.
and whatever I really want to include in my life moving forward. And sports cards just hit such a nerve for me because I watch sports. It's one thing
Yep.
that I've always kept up with. I was into pretty deep actually sports betting for quite some time,
Hmm.
and then
Hmm.
I realized that it's pretty toxic, and it goes sideways pretty quickly.
Hmm.
But I never lost the lust for prospecting and watching drafts and
Sure. Sure.
really trying to forecast. And I figured, why not take that and apply that to sports cards? And I found that to be a wonderful transition.
So let me interject here a few
Yeah,
things. So first of all, just interestingly, my ex-wife, personal trainer, so I
really.
understand that world.
Yeah.
You won't know from me because I'm like the before picture, right?
Yeah. I don't know
But
about that.
she's a personal trainer, and I understand that. And I'd say that because she was big into personal training and social media. In fact, let me give her a shout out. Her website is workoutmommy.com. I don't know how active she is, but she at one point was very active in this community. And this is pre-COVID. I think she
Yeah,
actually sat out the COVID world, which I thought was interesting. So
that
I
is
could totally
interesting.
talk to you about that because during COVID, I tried this one channel. I built a channel called Kettlebells and Cards.
Yeah, really.
Yes, I did. I only did it
That's
for a week,
dope,
man,
man.
because I was
That's dope.
dying. I was dying, but I basically was doing kettlebells and just talking about what's going on in the hobby. And it was funny
Really.
because my ex-wife commented, she goes, "Your form is absolutely horrible. If
Yeah.
anybody's watching you, this is terrible." And so I took it all down.
Yeah.
But it just makes me think I'd love to talk to you later on about
Yeah.
something around that, man, something of a collaboration. Because there's one niche that's missing in this hobby, man, is maybe a little fitness with our
Yeah, so
cards.
I mean, I've spoken to a lot of people. I mean, I'm gonna shout out Dave at Signed and Slabbed, unbelievable guy. We've been just kind of bouncing ideas off each other on like how we can, create better habits in the hobby.
Yep.
And like, I'm not one to try to impose my, beliefs or
Yep.
like ideologies on anybody. And I ultimately, like, if you're happy, you're happy. That's all that matters. But I do think that there's an opportunity for people to, take some of that money that they're putting into, sports cards and memorabilia and all the stuff that makes them feel better from an intrinsic point of view, and like, maybe apply some of that to like, better eating habits,
Yep.
or something as simple as like going for a walk every day makes
Yeah.
a world of a difference.
Yeah, here's a good tip. My ex gave me this years ago. When you're going into Target and Walmart to get your cards, park far away.
Yeah, yeah, it's a great
Just
tip.
simply park
Yeah, yeah,
far away.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
there, you're there to hunt the cards. Make it a little hike that you have to
yeah,
go in and get the cards. Just a
yeah,
small little tip, right?
yeah,
But you're right. And I'll tell you this, I am the person who says stuff maybe you shouldn't. And I do care about a lot of people, man.
yeah.
And
Me
I will
too, man.
say, if anything, obesity is a problem.
Yeah,
And sometimes we sit around eating cards too much, guys. So let's get out there, get your steps. Walk. Don't stand on the escalator. That's another thing that drives me crazy, man. I can't
yeah.
stand that. Escalator's there to help you. It's not there to replace walking. You can still walk. Anyway, we're going off tangent here. We were going on sports cards. You were talking about your grind, and you got. Let me ask you this: where is your main media? Are you most followed, popular, subbed on TikTok or?
On TikTok, yeah, on
Okay.
TikTok for sports cards, yeah.
And can you sharing that? Because here's what, and only share what you feel like it. But here's
Yeah,
my
of
understanding.
course.
I watched Gary Vee talk about TikTok, and then I saw that one girl dancing, and she's a bazillionaire. And then I feel like I missed that ride, right?
Yeah.
Because you have like 27,000 subscribers. Is it similar?
No, I
No?
don't. Stop
How many you
that.
have?
No, no, no.
2,000? It's a
I
lot.
got.
It's a lot.
It's less than 20. It's less than 20.
20,000. Still, come
Yeah,
on,
yeah.
man.
I know.
Anyway, here's my point. Do you have to hit 1,000 to monetize? Does 5,000 give you like a token? Are there anything for it?
So that's part of actually what I kind of like about it
Uh-huh.
is that it weeds out a lot of people because there's not a lot of monetization.
Cool. Okay.
However, because of that, I think that number one, so I'm present on a lot of social media platforms, and the virality, the opportunity for new people to see your content, um, is unlike any other platform, in my
On
personal
TikTok.
opinion.
Yes.
On TikTok,
I agree.
I scroll through my For You page, and I have, I would say, 60-70% of the videos are people I don't follow, and I mean, I follow a decent amount of people, right?
Yep.
It has a lot to do with interaction, and they just kind of send you what's kind of personalized for you. If you use the algorithm correctly, like if you're constantly saying like, I'm not interested in this, or I'm interested in this, or like this, comment on this, whatever the case may be. That being said, I think that the ability to build a following in a manner like that, there is no dollar value, so like, I'm out here doing this like with no kickbacks. Like, I don't get, I mean, people reach out to me on a secondary market occasionally to do a sponsored post,
Yeah.
but in terms of like what that platform brings you for your
It's not the
following,
same.
it is nothing,
Okay, so
like,
and here's what I
yeah,
translate that as. I'll give you an
yeah,
example. I follow Neo. Neo's kind of open about his platform. I think he has 11,000, 15,000 subs. And he talks about pulling in like $1,000 a month in YouTube revenue. Like
yeah,
he said the
yeah,
other day,
yeah,
he did a
yeah,
video and his video kicks back $20 on that video. I'm like, and I'll be honest, I do turn my monetization on, but I rarely turn it on first. I turn it on later. I'm not about monetization. I
yeah,
know it has to be on for the algorithm, so it's not my
yeah,
goal. I get like I think I made $100 in 2 years on YouTube.
yeah.
But it's interesting to me to hear that. So it does sound like YouTube has a much stronger platform for that form of. Another good example is an evergreen, right? So if you have a piece of content that somebody keeps coming back to, it can pay you money over and over.
Yes.
You don't see
yeah.
that in TikTok world, right? So if you have
Yeah.
something on TikTok that's getting thousands of views, it doesn't do anything for you.
But for me, it does do something for me because it brings more eyes to my
Yes.
my
Yes.
platform, right? And like, I only care about like talking to
Influence.
people. My biggest thing is like
Influence.
talking to people. I hate the term influencer.
I
Like,
understand, but I understand, but
because
I
ultimately I don't want to influence anybody. You know what I
but
mean?
you
Like,
want
I just
them
want to talk. I just
you
want to
want
have
them to think.
conversation.
You want them to think, right?
Yeah, no, 100%.
And be brought to a thought.
I
It's
hate
not.
when someone asks me like, "Oh, who do you? What's a soccer player that you like?" Or like, "Who do
Yeah,
you like grading with?" Because I don't want what I do to affect
I
what someone
understand.
else does. Do you know what I mean?
That's
Like,
why.
I
That's
want you to
absolutely
come
why
to
I
your
love your content.
conclusion. I want
Yep.
you to come to your conclusion. Like, if you say that you're gonna grade with FCG, that's fucking cool with me. And I
Yep.
hope I'm allowed to swear in the channel.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah,
This
cool.
is absolutely.
I'm like, that's cool with me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like if you're telling me that you like the look of these slabs, that's great. If you're asking me what do you think the most liquid slab is, I'm gonna tell you PSA.
Yep.
Do you know what I
Yep.
mean? If you're like,
Well,
oh, I don't want to pay that money, then I'll give you another option, right?
so I totally agree. And let me just say this: I've always
Yeah,
been in that position. In fact, I will say, back when the new grading companies came out, I had two new grading companies on my channel, and I introduced them to the world. And I want to say it was never like endorsed them. I tried them.
yeah,
My whole point of this was I want people to understand. Here's my whole point: grading is subjective.
yes,
It's
yes,
just
yes,
wizards who are at
yes,
wizard school who go
yes,
poof. This is a
yes,
PSA 9. You know what I'm saying?
yes,
So I don't know. I'm totally with you. That's why I don't on my channel. I don't show my personal stuff.
yeah,
If that makes sense, I kind of keep things
yeah,
quiet. I sell a lot. Real
yeah.
quick, I want you to answer this question:
Go
where do
for
you
it.
get resources? Do you have a network of people? And
That
I'm going
was
to
the
bring
question.
Cartel on. Cartel's here as well. So answer that question, and then I'm going to introduce Cartel. Come on. So Cartel,
That
I'm
was
having you
the
come on in a
original
second.
question.
Yes, it was. So
So
go ahead, answer that, please.
So I didn't in the beginning. I mean, a lot of my information comes from who I follow on Instagram, and I follow an absolutely shit ton of amount of people. Like tons of people, and luckily the people that I follow are constantly keeping me up to date with what's happening. But now I have a lot of people. Shout out to all my followers if they're listening.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully they do eventually that they will tag me and stuff frequently. They will, get in my DMs. They will, they will direct message me like, hey, like you should check this out.
Yep.
Now I don't make videos about everything because I
Yep.
want to like just look into it, and sometimes there's only so many Trevor Lawrence one of ones you can talk about. But it's a fascinating what's happening right now. It's fantastic.
That's all. I think that's a power of the hobby. I
Yeah,
get that as well. Not as much as I'd like to. Some of it's indirect and it's off the record.
yeah,
People hit me up. I can't tell you this on the record type
yeah,
of thing. But
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
guys, I want to introduce to you guys Sports Card Cartel. I'll be honest. I found him through your channel.
Nice.
So and so I'm really excited to have him on because when I've listened to Sports Card Cartel, I have to say, man, I listen. I think we almost agree on like 95% of everything. There are some areas we don't agree, but I'm really excited to have you on, man. Welcome to the show, Cartel.
How's it going, guys? I'm preparing a card for PSA by getting a feel
funny.
for the card stock. I'm going for a record for most lives done without pants. And
Okay.
let me know if you can hear me. It was a disaster last time with AIH Sports, so hopefully, because the technology is beyond me.
The audio is good. The audio is good.
Yeah, I think everybody's good. And I have the same problem sometimes, although I always wear pants. Sometimes I won't have a shirt on, but I'm always going to be wearing pants.
Even in the shower, eh?
You should try.
No, I'm talking when I'm on camera. If I'm in front of the camera, man, I've got some, insecurities. I get some old man. I got a fat belly. I'm wearing my pants, okay?
You should try it sometime, man. It's the freedom.
Oh, I love being naked privately, man. I'm all about that, right? Get out of the shower. I'll go outside and make snow angels, but on camera, that stuff gets recorded. People pay attention. That will end up, I never send pictures or anything like that. That's not my style. I'm too old for that.
I feel like I'm more on point when I'm pantsless during a discussion.
Window
Well,
open
guys,
and everything, eh?
Yeah.
I want to talk about a topic. In fact, this is a good example, Coach. You got somebody from your network reach out this morning about the break that happened on Go GTS Live last night, right? And then you put out a TikTok on it. And I want to share everybody, kind of give everybody a little background on this, because this is an interesting story. If you don't follow, Go GTS Live is a distributor's live channel they do every week, and they've been doing this for, God, years, at least maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5 years. Someone will probably correct me, where they basically open product. They'll do a kind of a short hobby happenings, go around what's going on in the industry. They'll do interviews sometimes. And then the product they open, they give it away to people who are supposed to be watching the entire show and have tweeted on Twitter. And then what they do is they randomly would just assign it. Now, I want to point out something. When they do this, there's no on-camera random.org. They typically turn the camera off. They come back on and say, and the winners are Frank, Joe, Mary, Betty. And the thing is, no one's complaining because it's free stuff. Yeah. Okay. And we're all getting this because no one entered into a contest. We just have to be present, if that makes sense. Now, last night, these guys opened up a box of Prism and they pulled the Scotty Barnes gold Prism autograph
Jersey
beautiful card,
number.
jersey numbered as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Now I'll tell you, when it happened, as soon as I saw it, I'm going to admit it. I was the first idiot in the chat who said, man, that card should go to charity. Like, because I thought to myself, if you're going to tell me you're going to go off camera and come back and pick somebody for this, oh, this is going to definitely be a problem, right? I mean, that would not work well, right?
Yes.
So I even said in there, if by some chance you pick me off camera, wink, wink, I'm giving that card to charity, as if to try to get people to get behind the charity spirit, right? Everybody was, for the most part, people were quiet. I had one other person, Kristen, who chimed in. And then what ended up happening, the moderator said to my account, Sports Card Show, we're going to talk about it at the break. They talked about it at the break while we watched a video, right? They came back and they said, look, we're going to take some time. What the guy actually said was, we're going to talk to the manufacturer Panini, which I thought to myself, why do you even have to talk to Panini? But I think he was just nervous because we're talking to Panini and some other people and put a vote whether we give it free to the contestants or do we go to charity. He never, ever said he was going to keep it or it wouldn't go. They didn't want to make a rushed decision, if that makes sense. At that time, the chat definitely lightened up. People were upset about it. And then you got contacted by somebody who made a comment that they felt a little cheated out. I want to also add a little caveat to this. I'm guilty of, when I was watching this happen, okay, this card breaks and you can watch the video and everybody's talking about it. They didn't discuss what to do with it for probably 15 or 20 minutes. In that time, I sent text messages to people who are friends, like Coach here, and said, get on Twitter, dude, and get in this party. Try to get in this registration if they're going to give this out. I like for it to go to somebody who's good or that I know and who might do something charitable with it. So I did tell other people, and I say that because I think other people did as well. You know what I'm saying? So they're in a conundrum, and I just wanted to mention that topic. We can go with it where you want to. And I also want to give a shout out to Go GTS Live because they did nothing wrong. And I applaud what they did do. And they are no backyard breaks. I'll put it that way.
Okay. So I struggle with this, right? Because anytime that you run a contest, and I know people are going to say, well, it was free, so they can do whatever they want with the card. And I understand that. But at the end of the day, you're doing this, as much as you say it's for the good of the hobby, like you're doing this for publicity. You're doing this for advertising. This is literally free advertising. Ironically enough, if someone sees a big card pulled, they're probably going to want to buy a box, right? That's the irony of it. And so a big card was pulled and they didn't know how to react to it, right? I think that, number one, I mean, this is a business, right? It's a distributor. So when it comes to running these giveaways, I think that they, hopefully as a result of this, but need to figure out their shit when it comes to how to do these properly. Like, quite honestly, right?
More defined.
Because if that was to happen at like McDonald's or Tim Hortons or any Dunkin' Donuts runs a giveaway and someone does something off camera and there's no paper trail, people would be livid, right?
Yep.
People would be absolutely livid. Because eventually someone's going to win a big prize. If you keep doing it for long enough, someone's going to win.
And they have actually done some big prizes. I will say that. They've had some big cards. This is probably the biggest one. I think in the past they gave away cards that weren't as big because it was before the player took off, like Patrick Mahomes rookie RPAs, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with you. And I'll even say this. What I like is they're going to put it apparently to a vote, right? Let the card community decide. I have a sense the card community will decide for it to be get random off to those people who are in the party, who are in the thing. I will say I'm happy with that because I'm in that group. And if I do get it, I'll send it to charity.
How do you know how many people were in there at the time of that, though?
I don't know how they would do that. I mean, there are ways you could do that in the sense. I'm sure that they were monitoring. What they're supposed to be doing is monitoring who was on the Twitter list, and that's where they pulled the names from. Because they did give away the other 15 items last night, right?
Okay.
So they could go to that list of whoever it was, and then use that list. Now the reality is, like you said, I hope that they. And here's the sad thing. I know when you do one of these giveaways, and we talked about this a little bit off camera.
Yeah. Normally,
you're doing it for the good of you're trying to be nice.
Yeah.
If you don't define the rules and you don't make sure everything's defined, then you open up your area to this. And when you put rules in place, then you're less likely to do prizes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they should define, like, for example, they should say you have to check in every 15 minutes. We need to see a comment from you in the chat that proves that you're really here. Yeah. Or at the end, we list the people who are there and we do random.org in front of everybody so you can see who gets selected. I agree. It was an interesting evening. I'll also say this too. I looked at the video and there hasn't been many views on the video.
I know.
So maybe it's just not an issue. Maybe it's not a big issue. Isn't
entirely possible.
So on that note, go ahead, Cartel.
Isn't it just? I mean, in general, don't you agree that it's? I mean, there's so much space for now I'm not implying anything with this situation, but for shenanigans in these situations, because there's not much follow up, right? Like how many
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
how many giveaways do we really follow up on? And we do know that there are enough situations where there are inside jobs going on, essentially. But it's funny that you mentioned this. I don't have much familiarity with the situation as you guys do. But it makes me think about, like, you know, early on in the pandemic, the first few breaks I was attending, that I was noticing, you know, stuff was going on off camera. And I'm like, isn't that the most basic? We've got to have some kind of degree of standards, beginning with things being on camera, because
Yep.
there's a multitude of things that could be going on off of camera. And what I noticed was no one would complain until
You're-
one day someone did complain, and then the whole community was like, "Yeah, you know what? You shouldn't be opening the packs up in front of the camera." Right?
You're absolutely right. I mean, I'll put it this way, and you guys have been around for a while. Back in what I call the mid 2000s, there was the breaker wars. Okay, the breakers did not like each other. Okay, they used to hate each other, and they'd be quick to point out when people screwed up. And breakers went out of business during that. In fact, I don't know if you guys followed Breaker Culture, which is now Ty, who does bench clear media. Ty ran Breaker Culture. You could come put reviews on breakers, reviews on products. It was one of the best breaker sites, but I'll call it the Breaker Wars. Okay.
That's a good idea.
Now, during that time, like I said, Mojo, Leighton, these guys didn't get along. There were stories with them not, getting in almost arguments at these events. Now, fast forward, you finally I think, got rid of a lot of the bad breakers with the Brandon Cooks to 99 incident. You guys remember that story? This was the breaker. So basically, you had kind of like in 2017, you had all these kitchen breakers. The guy steals a redemption off of the table, and he basically keeps repeating, Brandon Cooks to 99, Brandon Cooks, and does a quick fast hand thing, which everybody picks up on. When that happened, that went viral, right? And it shut down all the kitchen breakers. You only went to breakers that were reputable. Now, what happened in 2020, you had everybody come flooding in, and anybody could break. Just like anybody can grade, right? Anybody can break because everybody's looked at it. And I'll give you an example. Hobby Box, which is a very popular channel. Okay, I don't know if you guys ever follow this guy. One of the, I'll nicely say, nice guys. Did a break early on. My son was a big fan of this guy. He gets in his break. It's a mosaic box. He starts opening the packs. All the packs are opened off camera. Every freaking pack. And I'm sitting there chatting, sir, you need to put these on camera. I'm yelling at my son, like, where'd you losing our money? Why'd you want to get in this break with this guy? He's like, Dad, he's a really nice guy. I'm like, I don't care how nice he is. No packs are on the camera.
Yeah.
And again, I complained to other people, and again, no one cared. Because like you said, there's just so many people aren't unaware of kind of like the breaker etiquette, maybe, or the kind of like the rules of breaking.
Yeah.
I also think that breaking it exploded in 2020 because we couldn't find product. Right?
Yep.
Product was off the shelves, and so like if you had product, people wanted to break with you. Not to mention there's a strong affiliation with gambling and breaking. Do you know what I mean? And so like people had expendable income and they were like fiending. Sports weren't on TV. Like they were literally shut down, and a big part of the sports gambling was out the window, and it became like who can I throw my money at to somehow win a lottery ticket right now? Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
11 o'clock at night or 12 o'clock.
And
I mean, I'll admit,
so loyal to their breaker of choice. There's not a single major breaker. I'm just gonna put it out there. I've got the DMs, I've got the stories, I've got the tales. There's not a single major breaker out there that doesn't have some stories that have been told by customers and have been shared that are questionable. I'm talking all the major breakers. You find a breaker you get behind, and you stick with that person because you build up a level of trust. But it gets to the point where that level of trust is to the point where if someone tries to tell you otherwise, it's like politics. You're not going to listen to them.
Yep.
You're just going to go with your experience. And that's why I would imagine, because it's a stupid question to ask, like, how did backyard breaks survive the controversy? Well, they survived the controversies because they've got the most loyal followers I've ever seen, and they managed to sidestep,
Yeah, but I'd even say this in fairness. They fumbled the ball, but it wasn't complete. Like they did pull back, but they did some way to make it right. There's worse things done, like stealing. If they had stolen, they're not recovering that. Do you know what I'm saying?
I do agree with that. But
I would also say too, the memory of people is so short.
Yeah,
like for example,
Platinum
Breaks has had its issues. I used to break on Leighton. Leighton has their issues. I'll give you an example. In 2015-16, I used to break with Leighton. I'd break with Jaspy and Mojo Breaks, all three of them. And I used to break with them on price, and they used to compete on price. But I can tell you some really interesting stories. Like you said, each one has their own little story. What I ended up doing and I found the best breaks are Facebook breakers, who are guys who've actually built their business through allocation. One of my favorites, I've already shouted this guy out, is Bargain Box Breaks. This guy started his business in his kitchen probably 15 years ago, but he's allocated and he's very customer focused. His prices are always the most fair. And I'll tell you the thing I love about him too, he's the most honest when he opens the product. He'll sit there and tell you, this product sucked, man. Panini just screwed us. He doesn't sit there and blow smoke up your hind and go, oh, shiny shimmer, blue wave, red, you just got your money. No, he does none of that. So I'll just say this, I love breaking. I'm not in breaking right now, but I will defend there are good breaking. I'll say this too. I'd rather buy into breaks than buy and rip boxes or chase prospects, because I know breakers, guys who are smart in breaking, who buy the right teams. They don't chase, they don't go in fillers, they don't do random teams. They know what to do it and they make money in it.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's a real thing. I've got, look, everyone was getting into a break during the pandemic. It was something to do, and it was something involving your passion and your hobby. For me, it was electric cards. I think Coach Co knows electric.
Yeah.
And he was the first guy.
What is that?
Electric underscore cards. He's not doing it so much anymore.
Okay.
He's a busy guy, but nonetheless, he's got a family. But when he was doing it, he was the first guy who everything was above board. Everything was in front of the camera. He knew the product. He knew the sport.
I love that. I love that.
He would show you an empty box after removing the packs. These little things that ensured that what was going on was above board.
The lint roller, He would lint roll the mat.
Yeah.
That's the Zamboni.
And I'll go back to, breaking used to be a bunch of guys getting together and go, man, I want to buy a hobby box, but I can't afford it. Let's split it all three ways. You get these teams, I get these teams, and I get, you know what I'm saying? So in that way, when you feel that hospitality of breaking like that, I love that. Yeah. What I don't like is breaking's gotten so loop and so whatnot, where it's transactional, it's fast, it's pressure. Yeah. I don't want to do that. It's not the relationship I want to have with my breaker.
It's not an experience anymore, right? People, they'll literally just sift through the cards for the colored parallel, and then just like the rest is garbage. You know what I mean? Like, what's the auto in this box? I'll never forget when everyone was going after kabooms, ironically enough, and they were ripping the living crap out of Absolute, and it was just like shredding boxes. Like, literally, it'd be like 30, 40, 50 boxes, and all they cared about were those kabooms. You know what I mean? And all the rest of the cards were junk.
I smile because I remember opening the original kaboom was in the innovation case. Yeah. Back in 2012, 2013. I remember my son and I.
That's a nice product.
Oh my God, we bought that stuff. Again, this is 2016. I think it was $40 a box, man. We used to go to 1 or 2 case at a time of that stuff. And the hits that we pulled and sold of that were unbelievable. We sold them back in those days, but we did it chasing a kaboom, like you said, because there's one kaboom per case. Yeah. And now you chase Absolute for it, which is hilarious.
I'd say it's pretty, and breaking is important in the realm of, like, Coach Co and I are a great example. I love UFC stuff. He loves soccer stuff. Those are some of the most expensive products when they hit the market. So breaking is
it's the blood. It's almost I know it's the heart, but it's so important to the hobby. If we don't have breakers, this hobby would crash. I mean, it's more important than breakers, in my opinion, are more important than local card stores. And people might not agree with that, but if you get rid of the breakers, you're going to see the hobby change. If you get rid of local card stores, I haven't been to my local card store in a while, and I'm fine. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I know they're nice and neat and everybody wants to protect the local card store and buy from them, but I'll be honest, in the future, when Fanatics takes over, it's the breaker relationship that you're going to have more than the local card store, in my opinion. Because I think you're going to see franchises. You're going to see Coffee Breakers is going to have 15 franchises. You're not going to see your local card store as much.
I agree.
I get it on a certain level, even on the level that, your local card store doesn't want to break their boxes. They're not even offering packs of them.
Yeah. So again, I like the breaking community. Let's change topics. What else can we just discuss right now? See if we have any questions from the chat.
Well, we already touched on the fact that it only takes 2-3 days. That's my joke to get over something in the hobby. Yeah, that's about as long as our attention span goes. 2-3 days, you're all good. Get back to work.
That is very true. People are very quick to forgive and forget, and I think again that's probably what added to the 2020, right? Is that you had so many people who came in who just had no knowledge, or their last knowledge was outdated. They just trust. For example, you come in with trust. Well, it's a good company. Why would I not trust them? It's just there's so many things that people took for granted. I think education is the thing that we needed the most in 2020.
Well, like PSAs,
Card Trust
like
Incorporated.
PSA's surge in the hobby was, like not out of nowhere, but like the way that they lapped Beckett in such a short amount of time. You know what I mean? Like that was, you just saw every single person flock to PSA. Like I remember when I jumped in, I was like, oh, like so Beckett is the number one, and like Cartel and I would like go back and forth about this, and the more I was on social media, the more I was like, hold up, like everyone wants PSA, and Cartel at the beginning was actually hesitant. He was like, like I grade with PSA, but like I still think Beckett's number one, and then you saw these massive price discrepancies. Mainly due to people who just jumped into the hobby. They were like, no, PSA, PSA. I remember Kendrick Perkins was like,
Yes.
PSA
I was
10 or
gonna say,
nothing.
who was that
Yep.
athlete?
Kendrick
Yep.
Perkins, like out of
I-
nowhere, was like PSA 10 or nothing.
Yep.
And
I was
you
just to say that.
tons
You
of
know,
instances like that.
It's funny you say that because I remember when I got into the hobby, grading really wasn't a thing. And then I remember when I did grade, we graded with BGS for two reasons. It was modern. You graded an auto. You didn't grade unless it had an auto. First of all, you didn't collect it unless it had an auto. Like, it didn't make sense. That's one thing I think bothers me is that right now the whole community has been tricked into believing that a card has value if it doesn't have an auto, if it doesn't have a relic. In my opinion, just mine, Ziggy's opinion only.
That's okay.
If it doesn't have an auto, if it doesn't have a relic, it's crap. These 101s, these golds, they're great. I know some sucker's going to buy them from the future, but reality, man, if aliens come down and they look at this, they're going to go, what? I mean, there's just no logic behind it, right? There just really isn't, guys. And the fact that we've been tricked into that by manufacturers, that's what bothers me most. Like, we as a community should say, no, we want autos. We let the whole relic thing go, or, it doesn't have to be worn anymore. It's in the same, no, it wasn't in the same room the player's in. That bothers me.
What about autos? What about sticker autos?
I won't even go there because I respect the fact that you have to have stickers. Again, I understand the industry. I understand redemptions. I'm not going to bitch about redemptions.
Yeah.
My biggest complaint about redemptions is the management of a redemption, in the sense that, look, if I put it in your system and 3 years go by and you haven't done anything for me, there's a problem. You should contact me in 12 months and go, look, Ziggy, I'm going to send you a box of Prism. I see you like Prism. Give me something else that your company has. I'll take it.
One person running redemptions right now.
If that's the case,
I've had multiple people contact them, and they said that the same thing every time. They say, "Listen, there's literally one person running redemptions right now."
I believe you. I will say, I finally spoke to someone. Now, she told me she was going to escalate my thing to somebody for VIP. I hate to talk too much, but short story. No. I've had redemptions since 2015 and 16. One of which, listen to this one, is a Christian McCaffrey glass card. You know what glass cards are, right? They have no auto, there's no relic. They just make a piece of freaking glass and stick it in the mail. Yeah. Which means they either never made them or they're never going to make that card. Yeah. Now, by the way, Christian McCaffrey's done. He's not going to play again, probably.
I mean, he might, but
of those 20-something redemptions, when I went in back, I don't know, years ago and asked for points in place of them. So I speak to this one the other, a few weeks ago. She says, oh, we're going to take care of this. I see you put some requests in. I'll get them updated. Well, what happened was 5 of them got redeemed for points, for 150 points each. I was like, what a kick in the dick. I'm waiting that long, and your answer is to give me 150 points? Like right now in boxes, you get 400 points.
Yeah.
So I'm still waiting, I think, 19 of them. And then I got the notification. I go to the national, get on the list. I can't even get in that list, by the way. That's sold out. So I'll stop my redemption rant. It's just simply, I understand the redemption, but they need to do a better way of managing that. You could give me product, give me something else. I would take it easily. I don't want to wait forever.
I mean, it comes down to
about,
go for it.
Sorry, I'm just going to quick story. People forget about the Upper Deck shenanigans with the cup. Vladimir Tarasenko autographs that were from a set from 13-14. You were getting those, I believe, in 2017, 2018. And again, that's because the cup autograph cards were on card. I think Upper Deck maybe learned from that whole fiasco.
But again, it's so funny. I've seen you hard on Upper Deck. I actually give them more respect because they did follow through. And I also believe they probably had a rep go watch those signatures take place. Okay?
Oh, listen,
where Panini, I don't think does.
Help, but yeah.
And let me explain that. I mentioned this to you as well, Coach. I want to say this was on Mojo Breaks. Many years ago, I heard them talk about this. I don't want to say this is correct, so don't quote Mojo Breaks.
Yeah, go for
but
it.
They used to go the rookie premieres, right? And they would talk. They used to do this a weekly show on their breaking channel. So it's hard to find this video too. But my understanding was they said that at the rookie premieres, the rookies were educated and they were signing all their stickers, right? Some of the rookies who had a better value or whatever, they would sign better contracts. But part of that contract was an acknowledgement that they will get cards in the future, and they are to sign and return them to Panini. And the assumption there, they didn't say it was, the assumption was they didn't get a sense that a Panini rep was going on those follow-up autographs, which makes sense to me. Because when you look at Giannis, remember when Giannis had all the autograph cards and he hadn't sent in, the people had redemptions, they saw him laying on his bed? Yeah. Because what I understand, this is also why these cards will disappear for a long period of time, or they get banged, is that the next wave does get sent. The on-card autos, the national treasures, get sent to these players. They're supposed to sign it and then mail it back. But there is no representative present at any of those signings. And that's where you have Lulu and the mom story, or you have Bridges maybe signing.
I assume there's a clause that says that friends and family could potentially.
They're not allowed to. They're obviously not allowed to. They're told that you're supposed to acknowledge the importance of your signature and your signature being important. But I'll go back to this. When Dak Prescott was in trouble for the auto pen, he didn't think that was wrong.
No.
Because in his mind, he's like, well, I didn't let someone else sign it. Yeah, he's like, I didn't let someone else sign it. And I can legally use an auto pen for a contract or my other deals. So he didn't even understand that. So again, my point here is that there's a terrible education from the manufacturer to the athlete on the importance, the custody, the value of the autograph. And even the sticker and the on-card. So, hey, sign 1,000 stickers for me, but I'm going to send these on-card. This is more important when you get them. Here's why. That player, that buyer, that collector gets it, is going to feel that you held that card too, sir. Maybe you want to add a scription, and it's a little scription. You know what I'm saying? They could do so much more to educate and make that a tighter system.
That's so interesting. Nobody has that conversation. Because do some of these guys?
I think Upper Deck does. I just do.
How about telling these guys how much the product it's going to be inside costs? Like,
okay, so I can answer. I can answer a little bit of this too. If you remember, think about this. Back in 15, 16, 17, breakers never talked about the value of hits. Did you ever notice that? They kind of kept it quiet. They never talked about, oh, that's $1,000 card.
Yeah.
They would say that's a big hit.
They'd say this is good.
Yes.
Right?
And they'd even say, oh, look at the comps. And I'm telling you, man, even my best breakers were very careful about saying that. When I asked them that, he would tell me, he goes, look, I don't ever want to put something in video where I give a number to it. And I don't know if he was coached by his distributor, because say part of the thing about my product, I got to wait to this time. We shouldn't put numbers. We shouldn't put valuations on the products. And we're also supposed to keep it at, like, they're not supposed to undersell at certain prices. Like back in the day, right? A box might come out at $90. You're supposed to sell it at $90, even if the market wanted it at $50, right? They had to wait a certain amount of time, right, before they could do that. So there's just a lot of little caveats, I think, that were just broken during 2020, that people just don't follow anymore. There's no rules anymore.
I think a lot of what we're talking about today has to do with the fact that the hobby just grew so quickly that there are no parameters. Like we touched on the giveaways, like how there isn't like a clear-cut set of rules, right? And like in the past, if a big card was hit, it really wouldn't be as big of a deal because there weren't this many eyes. The card wouldn't be as valuable as it is today. We also just talked about the etiquette when it comes to several other things, right? Like there's really no playbook for someone joining the hobby. You kind of learn on the fly. Even if you were in the hobby before, you say yourself, you jump back in and you're just kind of like, this is completely different. What is a comp? Do you know what I mean? Like, what is a comp? How do you explain that to someone who like, where's the Beckett guide? Oh, by the way, comps change literally every single day. Here's eBay. Oh, wait, you can't use that comp because it's shill bid. You can't use that comp because, the guy, it was right after the guy got traded. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's so many variables these days. The hobby just wasn't prepared for this level of interest, this amount of money. And I think at the end of the day, we need to address a lot of these things from like a foundational, like, here's like a hobby guidebook almost.
Here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say. That stuff was defined though before, like you're right. And it still is defined very much in Facebook groups. Okay. Where they do a much better job of kind of managing those, answering those questions, defining what is and what isn't right. And I think you're going to see that kind of come back, right? You're kind of seeing kind of a resurgence. In fact, a lot of the new content coming out is kind of more traditional, back to the basics, if you want to say. So I think you are seeing a change of that. Maybe a relapse, if that makes sense.
I think we always need a refresher in every industry. You know what I mean? I feel
Yep.
like we should talk about what is right, what isn't right, what's factual now, what's not, because there's a learning curve, right? Like you learn stuff and things change in 5, 10, 15 years, right? And
Yeah.
it's important to get re-educated.
Yeah, I think let me say this too. I think part of education, because I do know during 2020 there were a lot of people putting out education,
Yeah,
right? A lot of competing education. What I was frustrated was there was no collaborative communication,
yeah,
right? Like groups didn't come together and banter back and forth and kind of say, "Hey, I think we should do this," or "I think you should do
yeah,
that." They just kind of dictated stuff, and I think that caused, kind of. I'll give you an example. There were people selling information, right? I'll
yeah.
teach you how to,
There
and there
still
were
are.
groups who were giving free.
There
One
still
group
are.
I will applaud was Slab Stocks, right? Slab
Yeah,
Stocks put out this whole like weeks worth of basics on YouTube on everything that everybody else was charging. They kind of put it out for free. They also came out where they were going to do their own free software version when everybody else was charging.
yeah,
That didn't end up happening, but I did applaud those moves back then.
yeah,
It was quite a
Yeah,
interesting time.
what you just mentioned just immediately look. I'm not being critical because
Please,
this
because
gentleman is actually this gentleman is now actually getting a little bit more positive response from the hobby. Jeff
yeah,
Wilson and his ilk in the early part of the pandemic hobby took it upon themselves. Even the fact that he was self-admittedly new to the modern hobby, they took it upon themselves to be the educators, and that was a huge problem early on in the pandemic hobby. Was that the guys who decided and nominated themselves to create content based around here's what to do and how to do it
yep.
were, correct me if I'm wrong, guys like Jeff Wilson, guys like that handsome guy, the comeback
card investor.
okay,
Yeah.
and they even self-admittedly were, it was like basically saying like, I don't know much about this subject, students, but I'm going to teach you.
Well, it's so
it was even
know,
worse because he was telling people what to buy, bro. It wasn't even like here's education. It was like
he,
it
he
had nothing
did
to do
he
with
put out
education.
he did put out what was supposedly educational
yeah.
content
But
alongside his picks.
it was
You know,
strictly like associated with like numeric values, though. He'd be like, "Oh, this is why Prism is more desirable in the hobby versus Select," and it's like strictly
yeah,
price perspective, and it'd be like a side by side between like uh, a Luca Select and a Luca Prism, a Tray
yeah.
Select and a Tray Prism, and you're like,
But
you decide.
it was few and far between that you were seeing guys come out that actually had the knowledge and the time spent in the hobby to be putting out that information. I mean, off the top of my head, I can immediately think of sports card dealer, collector, investor, that gentleman. That's a guy who should be giving information to the hobby.
Well,
But we had this
so,
entanglement with these new guys.
so it's funny. I don't know how long you guys have followed my channel, but I started 2 years ago and I followed those guys a lot, right? In fact, I was watching them probably 6 months before I launched my channel. And I'll give you a quick story on Jeff, okay? Because I know Jeff took a lot of criticism when he came out, including myself. You look at some of the first videos, I was like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, who the hell are you, right?
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell are you doing? Now, what I will give him credit for, he created a market because he was the first one that used the investor word and started attaching dollar numbers where people wouldn't before that publicly in videos. You started seeing that, right? Now, here's another thing. He started a Facebook group and I got involved in his Facebook immediately, right? And I was very active. As you see, I'm a very talkative person. And I was moderating, and I will be honest, I'm the voice of reason. So he saw that and he came to me and said, hey, would you like to moderate? I like what you're doing. There were about 10 of us selected as moderators. We moderated that group as it took off. Now, here's what my points are. Number one, he listened to me. So when I went to him and said, look, don't let selling go on in this Facebook group, right? People are going to want to do that. Don't do that. Here's the reasons why you don't want to do that. He agreed with me. I made a couple other suggestions. Make it be open, make it, cultivate entrepreneurialism, cultivate other people's hustles, right? Loved it. So quickly, I was selected as the admin. I was his admin in his group, running his group. And again, what I liked about this, he was listening to me. Now, I was still talking to other people outside the community. I'm not going to list their names, but they told me, and I'm talking like the spring of 2020, we don't like Jeff. Jeff isn't a good guy. He's not like, you don't know Jeff. A lot of people made those judgments against him very early, okay? And I sat there defending him. I also want to point out, Jeff had on his channel almost everybody who's in sports cards today who has a YouTube channel who made money. Neo was on his channel. I was on his channel. Chris House of Jordan was on his channel. Josh Johnson was on his channel. Both guys from Card Ladder, right, were on his channel. They all used at his platforms. And many of them then attacked him, right? And I want to add something here. Remember Lamine James? And one of the things I don't like about Lamine James, he was used, in my opinion, as a pawn to start attacking Jeff, whether he did it or not. His videos were very much attacking Jeff while he was defending Chris. And my only comment is, what is the difference between Chris at House of Jordan and Jeff when it comes to what their businesses are and what they're doing? They both make data tools. One was villainized in the hobby. Oh, he's the bad guy. He's pumping. I also want to remind you, you're right. He did sell picks. He stopped selling picks. You know why? Because people told him to stop. You know who else was selling picks? Chris and Josh. They didn't stop selling picks. They sold picks into 2021. Not until they were pressured into stop selling picks. Chris and Josh were selling picks. They had a how to collect class and a monthly newsletter on picks. Right? So my point here is real quickly, what I think is interesting is how a lot of people have kind of come back. I'm not saying Jeff's a good guy, but Jeff listens, he helps, and he does want to make the hobby a better place. Now, he's come in like a bull in a china shop, knocked a bunch of stuff over, upset a bunch of people. But he also, like, for example, remember when the National was canceled, he came out and did the virtual, which was him trying to pull together the hobby community. A lot of people hated that, right? But I'm just saying, I will always defend him because he's listened to me and he's helped people more than I've ever seen him hurt people. And I hope people will just take that in consideration again. And they'll say this too. If you see Jeff doing something wrong, let me know, because I'll be the first to fish fillet him and to call him personally and say, Jeff, what the hell's going on? You know, I mean that. And I say that to, in fairness, with all the people in the hobby, they know me. I have a good reputation with them. I'll call people out if I see something that's wrong.
For sure.
I will tell you this, in person, Jeff seems like a decent guy.
Yeah.
He's easy to talk to. He is he's approachable. He seems genuine. I think that the issue there was it's prominence, it's marketing, and that puts you in a scenario where you're gonna get the most of the positivity and the negativity.
Yep.
Now, can you? I'm just throwing this out there as someone who, I avoided focusing too much on these slickly marketed guys. I recognized earlier on that there could be two 20K accounts, and the one that's less slickly marketed is going to probably be worth following more. That's just a generalization, but I have heard stories like what you've just said, is that Jeff is responsive. I already mentioned he's getting a lot more positive feedback at this point. Quite the opposite with the other gentleman that you mentioned, who I have some personal issues with, that they probably don't even know that I have personal issues with. But could you shed any light on the stories that I've heard about the interactions between House of Jordans and Card Ladder and Jeff in terms of shenanigans at shows, trying to block one another from being able to set up at the show? Is this something that's ringing a bell to you?
Look, the only thing I could tell you is what I know, what I've been involved in. And I'll just say what I used to be friends with Chris, House of Jordan. I was a big fan of his channel. I mean, to be honest, back in 2020, early, I thought we all were friends. I thought we all were on the same mission, just all get along, kumbaya. And like I said,
let's just be careful, because he has a very large brother.
Who's that?
Chris has
Chris?
a very large brother.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll tell you, Chris has threatened me. I mean, Chris has made threats against me.
Well,
so I'm not.
That's what Cartel's talking about right now. That's what
maybe you're not the only one. Maybe you're not the only one who's been.
And I'll say this: I'm not a violent person. I'm never going to encourage violence. I think it's immature and stupid. I'm not going to hide from him. Like, first of all, I think he's stupid. I'm small. He's big. If he hit me, I'd get hurt. I'm not a dumb person, right? I'm not going to encourage him to hit me, but he wouldn't do something that dumb. In fact, I'll also say this. Let me start this off. We started as friends. I would like to be friends again. Now, we'll never be friends like we used to be, but I would like for us to have a dialogue, right, and be able to communicate, right? When you want to say something, you should let me check you and say, well, what about this? And you should be able to rebuke back. Now, to answer your question, what I know about Chris is that, like I said, we were friends. He was on Jeff's channel in April. And June 23rd, he launches Card Ladder. I remember talking to him about it because I said, is this competing? He goes, no, this is an encyclopedia, a compliment to market movers, gave me access. I was one of the first users. There's actually a video I did, Card Ladder and market movers together, right? So it wasn't until months later where he started making some very negative comments. As example, he would get on there and go, yeah, I was on his show and was able to steal 500 subs from him. I'm not a big fan of him. And just start talking negatively of him. Then he gave Lamine James, he goes, one of my favorite memes was the Lamine.
For once, it wasn't me that clipped out.
Uh-oh.
I'm happy that it
Oh.
wasn't me for once. I thought it was me for sure.
You were just getting to the juicy stuff.
I know. We're uncovering drums, man. I like
Mm.
hearing heritage stories.
Mhm.
That's wild, though. See, I mean, he's threatening people left, right, and center.
I mean, this is the like. I mean, you would think it's all
Hello?
simple.
Hello? Am
Yeah,
I
we
back?
got you. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, guys.
that's okay.
Sorry, I don't know where I was last. I was on my rant and phone died. Okay, I'm back now.
You were talking about Lameem James, but I don't know if
Okay.
that helps you though.
And I'll be short. I don't want to lecture, but what it was Chris again this summer. He basically makes this comment on his podcast. Did you see Lameem James's Battle of the Bastards meme? If you go to that, if you remember Battle of the Bastards, Game of Thrones, you guys familiar with that?
Which one was that? Which one was that?
It was a meme he did. But did you watch Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
Battle of the Bastards, where Jon Snow fights all the guys.
Yep.
Someone's getting killed.
Yep.
Well, he basically in the meme it makes it look like Jeff Wilson's the bad guys. Yeah, it's a classic.
That's a classic meme. Yeah.
It's a great meme. And then there's another one he shows. It's a shepherd leading all these sheep. And I'm sitting there as the admin for this group going, dude, what's up with that? Right. And I even sent a message to Chris in the admin group going, why would you call attention to that? That's a subtle way of taking a shot.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, no, I wasn't making a shot. Now, here's the kicker. Here's what else I know. He asked a guy, a mutual friend, I won't use his name, but he knows who he is, he's watching. He asked this guy to submit a request to post a video in the admin group. And I'm the admin of. The video was on Card Ladder. And the video starts off with, finally a data tool with real data. And I said to him, dude, I can't approve that. I said, I can't approve that in this market movers group. I said, come on, to this person, their name. I said, I'd be happy if you edit it, mix it with something else, happy to promote it. I don't stop anybody for promoting their hustles, but you can't do it that way. And I even referenced my video where I did this, how do they work together, Susan? He took that, by the way, to Chris. Chris then sent it to me. In other words, Chris used him as a mole to see if he could get that posted in the Facebook group, and then was using that against me later on, that I was a Nazi admin that wouldn't approve stuff. And I have proof of this. Okay, so that is something I do know about Chris. In 2020, after that, I got blocked. I was kicked off Card Ladder. Since then, I've been indirectly attacked by him. I can talk. There's another affiliate friend of mine who can tell you that Chris told him that I would be a problem. That watch out for Ziggy. Ziggy's negative. Well, that person's now my friend. He knows that Chris told him all this stuff. I mean,
that's the magic word. Calling people negative. You call people they're bad for the hobby. Hobby positivity.
That worked. It's easy to do that. Everybody does that. It's very easy because look, I'm an honest person. I'm not a happy fucking bullshit person.
Yeah, yes.
And I'll just say this: what bothered me, man, is how it was personal. And what I mean by that, I was close friends with Jeremy Lee on Sports Card Live. Okay.
Yeah, we're hitting all the high notes now.
Yeah, I was on his channel every week. And I'll also say this: if you look at my original videos, I would promote him every week when he was at 200 followers. It's not I didn't do it, but I helped him. Yeah. I also lined up interviews for him. I lined up Jeff Wilson on his channel, which was his biggest show, and got him most of his subscribers in the beginning. Got him over 1,000 subs. Okay. We used to talk all the time, but I would give him pushback on the whole Card Ladder thing. Because I'm like, why aren't you pushing them on why they're allowed to come out with predictive stuff and no one else has it? You're fine with that. What about this how to collect? So everything I'd push to Jeremy, he would totally ignore me, totally continue to block me out of it. Then he became an affiliate of theirs. He became an affiliate of Card Ladder. So fast forward 2021, the end of the year, New Year's Eve, Chris is on the show, and I did a video on this, and Chris makes a comment. He goes, well, I'd hate to be one of these naysayers who keeps making these insults and find yourself at the National surrounded by 10 of my friends. So, indirect.
That says so much about a person when they're I'm going to threaten you with other people. Listen, look, I don't know. Brendan knows me. I'm just that guy. Like, I want a shot at the 6'4", 300-pound guy, and I think I'll do all right. I want a shot at him.
I don't want that to happen, man. Because I don't want you to hit him and they get money from you. He doesn't deserve that.
Of course.
Nothing but love, man.
But so let me say this. So what happened then? So Jeremy, right after that happened, Jeremy knew it was me in the chat. I stopped talking. I sent him a message immediately and said, look, you need to do something about this. That's inappropriate, him threatening me like that. Right? Now, at that time, Jeremy Lee and I were both co-hosts on Hobby Hotline. Okay. Somewhere after that call, Jeremy Lee called Jeff Wilson. He called other people on Hobby Hotline. A few days later, I get asked to leave Hobby Hotline, and Jeff Wilson calls me and asks me to step down as admin on the sports card group. Now that's because of Jeremy running his mouth, and instead of calling me about this threat from Chris, which he still hasn't spoken to me about, I left those two groups. And the reason I left, I won't say he forced me out, but they basically said, look, Ziggy, if you're going to be as opinionated as you are, we can't have you as part of our group. And I understood that. I talked to Jeff. I said,
you're not good for business, man.
Well, again, I talked to Jeff. I said, you know what? I understand, because you're right. When I talk, people keep associating me as, they keep saying that I'm being paid by you to attack. And that's not the case. I'm making my own decision. So I said, I'm fine with that. But it was Jeremy Lee who led to that. And again, I'll tell you this, guys, when I'm at the National, I will look for Jeremy Lee and Chris to go say hello to and shake their hand and smile. And if they want to talk, I'm going to say, you want to talk about the truth? Let's talk about this. Jeremy, let's talk about the situation. Why didn't you call me and call all those other people? And he knows I'm right. Now, I will say, Cartel, if you're there, I'd love to have you with a camera so I don't get, if I get hit. Because I'm smaller than Jeremy, too.
Is he frozen now, too?
I don't know if we lost.
I was like, we're taking turns being frozen? When's my turn?
So those are my...
Here's a comment. By the way, Jeremy... You guys
you lost your audio. No? You're back now. Go for it.
Can you hear me
now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
No? Hello? How's it
Yes.
going? Jeremy is a giant, by the way. Jeremy is probably 7'3".
Yeah,
He's not
I know.
large. He's a very tall man. I'm gonna
Long
make these
reach, man.
After hearing all,
I would never make it in. I'd be like, bat, bat, bat.
yeah. After hearing all these revelations, I mean, here's my. These are very general comments and not specifically geared towards anyone, but I don't like any of these data tools, and maybe that's because I am a collector from the 90s and back that I'm just not interested. Comps in general are becoming more and more of an issue. If I have a card of which 20 exists, I'm not that concerned about what the last one sold for. If you want it and you may not be able to get it again, it's going to be what I feel it's worth. And we're going to come to an agreement. And thankfully, like at the expo, for example, great bargaining, great haggling. No one, whether a buyer or seller, was way off where they should have been. And in my mind, it was like, let's get to an era where we don't need all of these analytics that they have going on in baseball. I understand it in baseball. I don't so much understand it in the card world, which is driven by emotion, passion.
Absolutely.
The sports that we love. So maybe we should be moving away from these concepts that have caused people to become. Look, I don't know what Chris is worth, but I mean, you make a deal with these big companies, and I'm assuming he's raked some money in, and that's why he's so aggressive. He's like a yard dog protecting the yard. And because unless he's psychotic,
power, right?
Because
it's power.
Yeah, you don't threaten people the way that I'm seeing him threaten people. It's unreal. What I've seen with my own eyes and DMs.
Well, I think I'll be honest. I think he's made that money now that he got bought. I think that's why you're seeing him. Okay, because I think before he was actually more restrained. Because here's I'll just say this again. I knew Chris. We used to be friends. He was always had a hustle, and a lot of people do. I understand that he wanted to make money in the hobby. That's cool. I'm not going to knock that. I didn't like the way he did. Like, for example, when he ran House of Jordan, he would sell these data sheets on data research he did because he's a numbers guy. I understand that. Right. So I'm not knocking that. What I knock him about is about the tactics that he takes, right? Using other people to do your stuff for you. And that's why I think when you saw him come out and make those comments about people aren't intelligent enough to understand the content, right? He made an IQ comment. He's just showing his real self now. And I think that's what people are seeing. Another great example, Lucas Tigers and Bronze, right? They saw him when I think it was Cage had posted on project, and Jeff Wilson gets on there and says everybody in your school can have a copy of Market Movers for a year. And I guess Chris got mad about that, made some disparaging comment about it. And Andrew's like, that's really crappy. Like, why take a shot? People are seeing who he is. So I'm fine. Like, I'll be honest. Somebody made a comment that, Ziggy has a lot of problems with everybody. Is it everybody or is it Ziggy? I'm not going to lie to you. I sometimes wonder that myself. Like, is it me? Am I freaking crazy? But then I will get messages from people who say to me, I'm honest. I'm real. I haven't sold out. So I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. Right. Yeah. And two things, for example, I'm not going to ever try to make money off of the hobby this way. It won't be through me monetizing. You won't see me sponsoring. That's not my goal. It really isn't. I'll sell my cards privately, buy and sell cards. That'll be my thing. I really like just the community. I like helping people. I like meeting people. Another thing, when I sell below comps because I'm not in it for the money. You know what I mean? I'm in it for the relationships. So
I like the concept that I can say a nice thing and recognize a good thing that an individual or a company does, and then also criticize it and not have people react in certain ways, because that's just the reality. I'm very opinionated. When I do feel upset about someone and they repeatedly give me a reason to feel upset, look, well, how many chances are you going to give a person? I mean, if someone slips up once, that's one thing. But people also have to, and I'm sure this applies to you. I'm sure this applies to you. You've seen some stuff, right? Like, because we've been here so many years, and we didn't have this platform to discuss it in 1996.
Yep.
I didn't have a
You're right.
platform to discuss Ken Golden back in the day. What I could jump on, what was it, America Online and something else, and voice my opinions to
Yeah.
12 people in a chat room. We didn't have that availability. So it's kind of like, if I see shenanigans from someone who I saw shenanigans decades ago, and then I realize if I say something, people are going to hate on me because they're so beloved now. That's frustrating. So maybe I'll redirect that at some new people and try to prevent, or do my part in letting it be known that I'm seeing a pattern again. You know, and then you, like you said, you do run the risk of people going to say, "Oh, you're negative all the time." But I think a lot of people are starting to cue in now. I'm seeing less and less. I'm seeing people accept the fact that we should be discussing the negative stuff. It's not going to hurt the hobby. It may actually help the hobby to discourage people from doing these things.
Absolutely. In fact, one thing I've been trying to do more this year, I feel like there's a lot of people kind of taking the baton of negativity and they're running with it. So I feel good. It's trying to find ways we can make things better. Right. And the one thing I keep saying to people is I would like to see us come together more as a community to come up with maybe some standards, some recommendations, some ideas, some suggestions, something. And we really should, as a community, think about that more as we look at what's happening with Fanatics, right? Because the way I look at it, in the future, you're going to have the players and they're sitting at the table right there next to Fanatics. And then you have the collectors, the community. And we should be sitting on the other side of the table. And we should have dialogues and conversations about stuff with them. And again, we're not going to dictate where things go, but we should at least be talking about it. Like, for example, there's no reason we can't ask manufacturers to provide us pictures of high-value cards like RPAs in the Cup and National Cards.
Patches,
you guys know this, right? Just show us that so we can stop fraud, right? There's also no reason. I don't understand why a data company isn't doing a hit tracker, right? Something should be tracking. Something should be scratching over the internet and going, hey, did you know that out of this product, this is what's left? It can help change the value of products. People might chase them. It might help us get rid of some. Expiring redemptions. Right, it's just so many things we can do to make the hobby better.
I love that, Coach Co. Did you see the? I mean, these are real discussions going on right now. The Zegras high gloss that was pulled on EPAC. So what am I doing buying hobby boxes trying to score one of those 10 high glosses when someone can just? Okay, well, someone in my DMs made the funny joke that I'm drunk at 3 a.m. I press a button and I've got myself a high gloss Zegras.
But that's kind of cool because that means it really is open to everybody then, right?
True, but what are the parameters? Is Upper Deck going to tell us how many are in the hobby boxes we're buying versus the online?
That's true.
I mean,
that's curious. That's a good question. That would be nice to know. But again, I still applaud Upper Deck, man.
He fucking loves them. Because
there's so much more. Like, I'll tell you, my biggest criticism of Upper Deck is I don't understand why they haven't done something with Jordan.
Yeah.
I know they had this whole thing where there was a lawsuit against them using the card, but they made those pieces of floor a few years ago, right?
Yeah.
Why are you doing something else? You've got LeBron, you've got Jordan, you've got Tiger Woods. Why are they? And I can't imagine that those athletes, while they're watching the whole collectible world blow up, are sitting there going, "Nah, I don't want to sign anything." I know Jordan probably doesn't, but you can't go to Jordan and go, "Do you see what LeBron just sold? A triple logo, man." I mean, Upper Deck could make a hell of a chase card, dude.
The only thing I've seen is promotional items. Like the local store got this gorgeous Tiger Woods framed and matted autograph. I mean, I only see these occasional limited used as promotion, but there's got to be something to that. I mean, my thing with Upper Deck, I thought they were lazy, but can a company with the potential to make so much money, why would they be lazy? I mean,
I think the same thing about Beckett.
Is it management? Yeah. What is it?
Beckett and Upper Deck.
The parallels between Upper Deck and Beckett are new.
But here's what I'd say. We both said earlier the hobby has a short memory. So if either one of those companies woke the hell up and did something dramatic, they would be instant leaders, right? So, for example, if Upper Deck said, "Oh, we're coming out with Jordan LeBron autographs next year," holy shit, that's number one, right? Game over.
Flawless takes a back seat.
Yeah, exactly. And same thing if Beckett gets their shit together, because again, I'll go back. We were talking this earlier. I don't understand how we really went from PSA 10 being better than a Beckett 9.5 with subgrades, or a pristine with 310s. I don't understand that, because again, I'll say this, and I did a video on this before. I do believe, again, fast forward 20 years, when you're going through this again, the PSAs aren't going to have as much value, because people are going to use their intelligence to go,
So many of
back in those days, any idiot could grade. But at Beckett, they used subgrades, and they didn't have as many idiots. They only had 5 idiots, right? They're going to look at those numbers, and Beckett's going to have more value. Also, here's another kicker. 20 years from now, a Beckett card is going to be protected by that little envelope that they keep it in. Those PSA cards are going to be molded and foil and bent over, and all the waxing, all the shit that people use to trim them is all going to corrode it. Man, I can't wait. Seriously, 20 years from now, there's going to be some people in PSA slabs going, what the F?
That is a mind-blowing, that is an interesting comment.
And again, I'll even say this.
Themselves.
Why isn't PSA a do anything? Like, my biggest criticism on PSA is you've done nothing for 2 years. Like, everybody's so great about $18. You have done nothing.
All you did was make money. That's all.
Yeah, you didn't integrate Gem Mint. You didn't come out and tell me, because of Gem Mint technology today, we can identify true value in Star. No, you didn't even lie to me and market that. Think about how dumb and mismanaged that company is.
You just
and I'll go
you're
back.
You're just going to decide to grade it.
In fact, there was a video back when I was talking to Jeremy. Jeremy Lee was talking the night that Nat got introduced as the new PSA collector, CEO. I remember saying to him, how would you feel if this was Jeff Wilson? And he was like, that'd be awful. We don't want Jeff. He's a businessman. Nat's going to do great things. Well, let me just say right now, I'm disappointed in Nat. I mean, dude, the guy, seriously, great businessman, but you have done nothing but make money. You've done nothing to make the hobby better, to make PSA better. You're even left them exposed to being taken over in the future. What I mean by taking over as far as market share. Because like I said, Beckett wakes up, CSG wakes up, SCG wakes up.
I can't remember what particular controversy it was, which says a lot in itself. But there was a controversy going on. When a controversy hits, what do we see? Card porn reports on it. Lamine makes a meme about it. There was something going on in the PSA world. Maybe you guys will remember the timing here, because it wasn't long ago. And I remember people were waiting on Nat or PSA to say something about this incident. And what we got instead, I went over to Nat's page, and he was ripping some expensive Finest product from a few years ago.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That's what he was doing.
Oh, my God.
While the entire hobby was freaking out about this incident.
It was the incident. I do remember that.
Oh, my God. I remember this.
And that said a lot to me at the time. Like, that was a big kind of FU.
Fuck.
But, you know what it might have been? Like, it might have been the guy that had his PSA order lost. Was it that? Someone had their order lost, or card porn.
But I do remember that
cards that were fake.
That might have been it. No, I think it was the fact that there was a Twitter
I'll tell you, early on, and I spoke about this.
You want to keep going?
Cartel.
It might have been that. It might have, but it might have been bigger because Lamine was posting about it.
Yeah.
It is interesting that it is. It's interesting though. It's kind of like Brexit and the and COVID, right? Brexit was important before COVID. Now no one talks about Brexit, but you're right. There was something going on at PSA, and then you're right. It all became about the shutdown. Everything was about the shutdown. They shut it down. Oh my God, right? Because first of all, you had the flood in March because it leaked that they were going to shut down.
Yeah.
Then they shut down all the drama, and then here's my best part. Everybody blamed the market on PSA. Well, it's PSA's fault. As soon as they open up, the market's going to be healthy. Everything's going to be great again. In fact, I'm also going to predict, I think there could be another delay in the future. Like people today who are sending away cards for the $18.
$18, 100%.
Yeah. Man. Don't cry to me. Don't cry to me, people, when you don't get it back in 150 days. Like, I'm actually going to laugh at you. I'm
not happening. So I'm pretty sure they've already said that it's 150 days as soon as they finish grading the
the backlog, which they haven't set that date.
You know what I mean?
So subjective.
So of course it is. We still have.
We haven't gotten our stuff back from way back in the day.
Yeah, we have lots of stuff there. So don't worry.
Again, I hope for change. I will say it's fun, and I know we're gone way over an hour, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. But I will say I am excited about the hobby. As crazy as it is, there's so much cool stuff going on. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's gonna be change. Fanatics, allocation, Panini. I'll make a quick comment. Before Panini had the rug pulled out from underneath them, they actually were a well-oiled machine. For example, they have a lot of patents. They had trademarked a lot of the names and stuff. They have a phenomenal legal team. I think they just were blindsided. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think they're going to be part of the new Fanatics, but it's going to be interesting moving forward.
I'm most excited to see people come out of this hype period. Like I'm excited to see people, and we're gonna lose a bunch of people, you know,
Mhm.
like but the people that stay are gonna be really passionate and find new passions. You're gonna see a lot more set collecting moving forward, and not just ultra modern sets, which I mean,
Yep.
that you just kind of do that because you've ripped so much wax. But I
Yep.
mean, like actually going
Yeah.
back and finding a set that like really, really either resonates with you or that catches your eye or is something that you haven't been able to find. I think that that's what I'm most excited about. I'm excited to see the people really take paths, and then we have these conversations, you know, 5 years from now with a bunch of people who are just as passionate about what's left behind. You know what I
Y-
mean?
You make me think hobbyists are like cicadas or locusts. They might go away for 17 years, but they come back out,
Yeah, yeah,
right? Because really think about it. Because if it's in your blood, you might get angry and leave, but you'll come back sometime. Your kid will pull you
100%.
back. Somebody else is gonna, like for example, when I was out of it, I know what used to get me back into it was watching draft classes. Because in my mind, I start thinking, I wonder how much that team would be in a break.
Yeah.
So going on what Coach Co said, the interesting thing is, are these guys that came into the hobby, guys and gals, as investors and kind of swimming in the new information they were receiving, are they going to stick around and crystallize what they actually enjoy? Like maybe in their rush to try to make some money and flip, they're like, you know what, I really like hockey cards or baseball cards. I really like this product. I really like this grading company. Because make no mistake about it, I did mention that regionally, like there's a card shop just outside of Toronto that has a community going on because they were the only card shop at the time. They appreciate Beckett more than PSA, and I've seen it with my own eyes. They actually pay more for Beckett because they now have collections that they want to keep consistent, and the BGS cards are what they have. So we're going to see kind of crystallization of people deciding what they like. The cream will rise to the top. Companies will react to it. So that's the exciting thing. Are they going to stick around, and are they going to be more defined in what they're into? And Teddy says card ladder rules. And Teddy, if you think so, that's great. It's
Yeah,
not for me, but you
I
know.
had to put it up. Yeah, I agree with you. I would say it's funny. Again, I watch a lot of content. That's the thing I love to do. And I even stick with the channels that go quiet. And I've seen some of them come back because I do think once you kind of get a niche, you find something you like. Because the one thing the hobby does is it has some type of return. It's a gamble with
Yeah,
some type of tangible at the end, right? So I do think, like at the minimum, I'll tell you, my kids don't do the hobby anymore, but they learned business from it, right? They walk
yeah,
away with something. And
yeah,
I do think you're right, Cartel. You are going to see people, like, again, this is a natural thing. We got a lot of people in. It's good that a lot of people leave. That's not a bad thing. That's why
yeah,
I'm not trying to build the pie, make it bigger. I just want more people to eat the pie with a fork and a knife and a napkin and be nice to the person next to them when they're eating the pie. That's all I want. But I do think you're right. I think business is going to keep people going. It's a great entrepreneurial business.
And
I
not
think
get
I missed the
yeah.
last part.
Me too.
uh-oh.
It's okay. But anyway, let me wrap up, guys. Go ahead and tell the audience where they can find you guys. I know, Coach, you're on TikTok. You guys are also doing a YouTube channel. You do put
Yeah,
out a weekly podcast. You do podcast live, recorded.
weekly recorded podcast.
Okay.
You can find myself on Instagram or on TikTok at Coach Co Collectibles. Um, we also have our Instagram. We also have our YouTube channel. It's under the Coach Co YouTube channel, but it is Cardboard Coaches. That is the podcast. You can find us on Spotify and on YouTube.
Awesome. Awesome. Cartel, you're just with him on the same channels? Or anything separate?
No, he's got his own stuff.
Y'all know me. I hate social media. I hate the phone I'm using. I'm gonna go watch a VHS tape when we're done here. That said, you can find
Is it graded?
Sports Card Cartel. Oh my God! Let's not. That's a whole other.
Well, look,
No,
let's do that again.
mine are-
Let's have another one of these because I'm enjoying this and there's so many
Absolutely.
much more to talk. So
It's good.
So Sports Card Cartel on Instagram. We are the Cardboard Coaches, but you'll see me here, there, everywhere. I love your little pie
Awesome.
comment, Ziggy, because I just picture pie flying around all over everybody's
Right,
faces,
right.
getting their beards. Yeah.
Yep.
I
guys,
got a
thank you.
mustache, no beard.
Thank you both so much. And I will say, I'm going to invite you guys both. I'm doing my interview series where I'm sitting down individually, and I will be reaching out to both of you to do that. We'll be dropping the first interview tomorrow night for anybody on my channel. It's with Peter Pac-Man. We sat
Nice.
down 2 nights, 2
I
interviews.
literally was about to say shout out RPS because you want
Yeah,
to talk
yeah.
about
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
good things for the hobby and things that have developed over the past couple of years. that were fun to watch develop and are great for the hobby. There you go. Peter Pac-Man is starting out your series. That's wonderful.
Well, I'll tell you, I've got some interesting interviews. I've reached out to a lot of people. I've had several no's. I won't lie. I've had a lot of yeses from certain people, and I'm excited about what's coming, guys. So for the audience, I didn't do as much Q&A, and I'm still going to be learning this stuff as we go through this. But we're going to do more of these lives. I hope to open this up to have more people come in and talk. Guys, I really want to have you back. Really appreciate this. Thank you so much. Everybody have a great holiday. Great weekend, great evening. Stay safe, stay healthy. Have a fun hobby.
Take care.
Peace, y'all.
I'm going to end the broadcast there. I don't know if they